Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about my sumo deadlift warm-up routine and my mobility routine to allow me to get into a really good position in my sumo deadlift. Okay, so first things first, tools of the trade. Foam roller, quintessential. Peanut, which I'll show you what you'll need this for, but you don't necessarily need this. You can also just use a lacrosse ball. And lastly, a kettlebell with a decent thickness on the handle. You don't want like a 10-pounder or a really small one. You want one with a decent handle. And I'll show you what you're going to use that for. Okay, so first thing I do before every single sumo deadlift workout is I always foam roll. I know some people don't really like to foam roll or think that it's a waste of time, but I genuinely think that it actually benefits me, especially in my upper back mobility. So I'll do something a little bit along the lines of just rolling my upper back. Start with my mid to lower back, hands overhead, and kind of just allow my scapula and my rib cage to come up a little bit while I allow my upper back to relax. And then I'll go back and forth. If I notice that one side of my upper back is a little bit tighter, what I'll do is, so say my left side is a little too tight, I'll roll to that side, I'll take my left hand, reach over my own head, and that'll kind of put a little bit of a stretch on the lat and allow it to stretch it out. And I can just keep rotating until I'm literally just on my lat. And that'll help stretch it. And if I need a little assistance, I'll take this hand, my right hand, pull my left hand away. And while I'm doing that, I'll prop up my body and stretch that lat. And then you can do the same for the other side. Same thing, I'm reaching. Then I'll go back and just hit the very high trap slash cervical spine area. And I'll just let my neck hang. Then I'll actually turn my neck each direction from this position, and a lot of times I'll be able to crack my neck just because it loosens the muscles in the upper neck and traps enough where it can allow my spine to basically release. Okay, and to continue on with my foam rolling routine that I do before my workouts is after I roll my upper back, I'll do a little bit of a quad roll. So just get into a position where I'm able to get my quad fully on the foam roller, kind of roll back and forth, feel around for some tight spots, see if anything's really like painful. If I notice that I get a little bit of tightness, I'll kind of stop on that position. I'll flex my hamstring to kind of put tension, more tension, and stretch on the quad, and then I'll roll it back and forth. And then I'll just keep, what I'll do is I'll rotate my quad. So right now, when I'm facing this way towards the camera, now I'm working more of the inside of my leg, more of the adductors, and a little bit of the vastus medialis. And I'll kind of do the same thing. I'll be hunting for different tight spots. Okay, I found another tight spot right in the middle of my VMO. I'll do the same exact thing, curl my leg in, get some tension on it, do a little bit of contract, relax, where once I'm contracting my hamstring, I will then allow my quad to relax a little bit more. I don't want to go too crazy though, especially right before a lift. This is more or less just to kind of smooth things out, make things feel a little bit nicer before you actually have to start deadlifting, because you don't want to get in there and do some really deep tissue work right before you do any type of heavy lifting. Okay, next thing that I do before every single sumo deadlift workout is I test my internal and both my external range of motion of my hips. So what that looks like is I will sit down, I'll get both my feet together, heels lined up, and then I will just pull myself as close as I can to my heels, keep my feet straight, and I will see how high my knees are. And that'll tell me my internal range of motion. So typically for me, my right side is always the worst side when it comes to my internal range of motion. And you can kind of see, I mean, it's hard to tell, but this one's about an inch or two higher than the left. So I need to stretch my glute, piriformis, and the adductor on the right side. Left side's pretty good. It's hitting the floor. It's always usually pretty damn mobile for me, so I don't have to touch that. So what that looks like is I'll do a little bit of a combination of things. So first thing I'll do is I'll lay down on my back. I'll take my right leg, which is having trouble internal rotation. I'll reach it across my body. Now that my foot is touching the floor, my right foot is touching the floor to the left side of my body, I'll then reach over and pull my knee to my chest as much as I can. And right now, I'm feeling a pretty good stretch on my piriformis and also my glute on my right side. And what I'll do is I'll kind of do a little bit of a light stretch, hold this position for a little bit, and then I'll retest. And I'll go back to this, and then I'll go, okay, yes, this is now sitting about a ½ inch lower. So I will keep continuing to work that until it's satisfactory. Obviously, it's not going to come up to the exact same on both sides. But you want to get as close as possible, and you have to kind of know your own body when it comes to those type of things. Because you don't want to sit here and spend 10 minutes just doing internal external rotation on your hip before you work out. Kind of like what I said before, you don't want to be doing deep tissue work. This is supposed to warm you up and get you into a prime position to be able to pull from. Now going back to the internal and external rotation of your hip, if you find that your internal rotation, like my right hip, you need to actually do more than just stretching the leg, you can use the lacrosse ball. And what you're going to do is you're going to find the spots that are going to be real tender. So here's the femur, here's my tailbone. You want to find pretty much the midway point between the two. Put the lacrosse ball there. Okay. You're going to lay down, and then you're going to roll the lacrosse ball right on that spot, and you'll kind of feel it. It'll be real tight. It should be tight and tender. You find the spot. And what I do is I kind of get my legs in alignment. Okay, I'm on the spot. Doesn't feel that good. And what I'll do is I will literally just clamshell. Right when you get to about here is when, oh, that's getting real painful. So you can kind of go through range of motion, contract, hold it for about 3-4 seconds, relax, let it go all the way down. Okay, that spot feels decent. Go move it around a little bit. Do it again. Oh, that one hurts. Go up there, contract. 1, 2, 3, and relax. And you can kind of do that for just, I'd say 3 to 4 sets. Help loosen up so that you can get your legs to externally rotate more. Okay, let's talk about adductors now. So the adductors are basically the inner thigh on both sides. And those muscles, if they get very tight, what will happen is when you try to get into a nice position with sumo, is your knees come in like this. Instead of them being out, they'll be in. Now, that could be your hip, or it also could be your adductors. I find with a lot of people that I coach, their adductors are usually pretty damn tight. And that's caused from a lot of sitting where you deactivate the pelvis and the glutes, and then the adductors are always chronically tight because of it. So to loosen those up, I'll do kind of like a mild version and then an aggressive version. So the mild version, this is if your adductors are a little bit tight, you don't really need to hit them too hard, and you're getting into a decent position, but you just need a little bit more wiggle room. I'll put the foam roller on a bench. I'll kind of have my leg turned inwards so that I'm laying right on the adductors. I'll roll around, go, oh, that spot feels a little tight, and what I'll do is I'll take the kettlebell, put it on my knee, and what that does is that creates kind of like a pincer effect where my body weight is pushing down here, the kettlebell is pushing down here, the adductors in the middle being stretched. And this is a very good stretch. And what you do is you find, okay, this is a good spot, and basically kind of contract the quad, and then contract the hamstring, and you're kind of like flossing the adductor on the foam roller. Now that, I would say, is more of a mild stretch on the adductor. If you want more of a pinpoint stretch, you take that kettlebell, get the handle facing up, and I'm going to show you on the bench. It's better if you do it on the floor. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. Same exact thing. You got the kettlebell right in there. Oh, and it's much more pinpoint than the foam roller because there's much less surface area, and you do the exact same thing. Contract the quad, and you'll feel it. Right when you contract the quad, it pulls all the musculature inside of your adductor, and you can feel it really open you up. And that'll really help you get your hips much closer to the bar, which is the ultimate goal of a sumo deadlift. Okay, let's talk about the lower back. So if your lower back, meaning your spinal erectors right above your hip, really feels jacked up, and you'll notice it when people bend over. They won't bend over straight. They'll bend over where, imagine this is your lower back with a little bit of a curve here in your lower back. So that kind of looks like this. So instead of, you know, I'm perfectly straight, you're like this. You're a little bit hunchback when you're bending down. And the reason for that is either your lower back's jacked up or your hamstrings are jacked up. So we're going to address the lower back issue. What I do, if I know my lower back's a little jacked up, is I'll find a bench, take the peanut, kind of get into a position like this. And by the way, this is a very good position to lay in if your back ever cramps. So if you ever have a back cramp, especially a lower back cramp, if you lay like this for a bit, it'll allow that muscle to stop spasming, and it works wonders on taking away lower back pain, at least for a short period of time. But anyways, take the peanut, and what I like to do is instead of putting the peanut, I know it's designed to have your spine sit inside the curve, but what I like to do is I'll take one side of it, and I will put it on one side of my back, so it's only on one spinal erector. I'll kind of lay it in a spot that's tender. Okay, that's not too pleasant. And what I'll do is I'll pull myself up and I'll kind of just find a spot. Oh, that sucks. Take my leg across it and let that hip drop down. And I'll just let it relax. And you can hold this up to maybe a minute if you can. Just let it relax. You can even, if you're feeling brave, take that hand off and you reach across to the opposite leg. And the reason for that is because you're actually stretching the spinal erector over the peanut and kind of doing like a pin and stretch type technique. And then you do the same thing, do the other side. Okay, get up over here. Okay, that feels nice. Kind of just let the hip drop. This leg comes up a little bit because now I'm putting all the weight, or trying to put all the weight, onto the actual peanut. Let it stretch out. Do the same thing, reach across. And that is a very, very effective stretch for your lower back. Okay, so after I've done all my little bit of mobility and assessments, I will start doing my actual warm-up. So what I typically start off on my warm-up with is, I'll do some 90-90s, which look a little bit like this. You get each leg 90 degrees. I kind of put my arms out either in front of me or close to the chest. And basically you want to pivot off of your hips and your glutes. You don't want to kind of like fall backwards, oh God, and then try to turn. You want to try to keep that chest nice and high, and you want to just basically rotate like this. Rotate like this. Let me bring the camera in, and I'll show you a little bit more of what I'm talking about. So, 90, 90, and what you'll do is just rotate the legs while keeping them on the ground. Rotate, rotate, and I'm trying to keep my chest nice and vertical. Rotate, rotate, okay? I'll usually do that for, I would say 10 to 20 rotations, depending on how tight I am or how much warming up I actually need. The next thing I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a shin box get up. So kind of in that same position that you were just in, getting a 90 and a 90. You'll kind of, arms in front of you, keep that chest up, and then you're gonna drive those hips forward, utilizing your glutes. Now, same thing, come down, nice and controlled. Touch, then back up, contract. Keep everything nice and controlled. And what that does is that'll help open up the hips, but it'll also warm up the hips and the glutes. And then basically the same thing, switch sides, fire it up. And then come down, nice and controlled. And I'll usually do somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 of those per side. So meaning 5 this way, 5 this way. Okay, next thing I'll do as far as glute activation, lay down, get my feet squared with my shoulders, take one leg, put it out in front of me, and then glute bridge up. Hold that for a second, come down. Glute bridge up. Come down under control, glute bridge up again. And I'll do those 5 to 10 reps each side. I will use the hip circle. Still laying on the ground. Put this just over my knees. Like so, just over my knees. I'll lay on my side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive my right leg into the ground while externally rotating my left leg, kind of in this motion. And I'll hold it. So this is a banded clamshell. And then come down. Same thing. And down. And down. And what that'll do is, again, opens up the hips and allows the glutes to be more active. Next thing I'll do, a little bit of a core activation drill. Not that serious of a core activation drill. If your core is working properly, you shouldn't have to do too much to it, but I do like to warm it up a little bit. What I'll do is I'll basically just do a basic bird dog. Get into a quadruped position and extend opposite leg to the opposite arm while maintaining neutral back. So you want your back to be nice and neutral, activating the core. So I'll do it again. Get the core tight and come down nice and controlled. So in this motion, I'm trying to fire hard on my glute. I'm trying to kick away with my glute, not my hamstring, not my lower back, because a common fault would be when you have the back drop and then you do this. That's a common fault. That's abs not being contracted properly, because if your abs are tight, you cannot have this arch in the lower back. And this is the other one, if you cat back it. So you want to have nice neutral spine. So neutral spine, get a nice contraction, hold for a second, and then come down. I'll do somewhere between 5 to 15 reps, depending on the day. I'll do hip airplanes. Chris Duffin popularized this. I'm coached by Chris Duffin, thus I use them a lot. And they are a very good tool at opening up the hip capsule. So basically, for most of you, if you've never tried a hip airplane, you're going to need something to hold on to, because you're not going to have the balance and stability to be able to do it freeform. So what that looks like is you square up to the object that you're going to hold on to. Hold on to it. Get this leg. So in this case, my right leg is facing you, my left leg, glute, contracted. I'm going to hinge down right on the hip. So I want all the weight on this hip. Okay, you don't want to bend too far forward, and you don't want to be like this. You just want a nice 45-degree bend. And what you're going to do is basically contract the opposite glute. So in this case, my right glute, I'll contract it, and I'll open it up. And then I'll come down, and then open it up again. Go down nice and controlled, open up again. And what that looks like from your perspective, on the opposite side now. So I'll take my right leg, my right glute's contracted. Now I'm going to contract the left leg, and I'm coming out. All under control, out. And once you get good at it, you'll be able to do it without any assistance to hold on to something. My final piece of warm-up advice that I do before I sumo deadlift, so I'll take the hip circle again, put it just below my knees, and what I'll do is I'll kind of take a wide squat stance, not a sumo deadlift stance by any imagination, just a wide squat stance. And I will put my arms out in front of me, and I will basically do squats with pressure externally. So I'll come down, and then I'll pause high, and I'll hold this position about 5 seconds. Then I'll go down even lower, hold that position again for 5 seconds, and you'll notice that your knees are going to want to buckle. So you want to hold it out, and then come up. And I'll basically do those somewhere between 4 to 10 reps, depending on how much warm-up I need. And I find that the combination of having to use your quads and your glutes really activates and primes my legs for doing a sumo deadlift. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's my sumo deadlift, mobility, and warm-up routine. If you guys have any comments on anything that I showed you, please leave it below. But also, too, if you want to see my sumo deadlift setup form, as far as I'll go through how to set up a sumo deadlift and what's correct and what's not, leave a comment below. I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoy the video.